On Dependency, with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio, at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays, at 10 a.m., and exclusively, on 95.5 FM.
And streamed live, on the On Dependency Facebook page, and YouTube channel.
Mr. Shock again, with the woman them anthem. Tell them again, don't bother with it. Some man claim that they love the woman, but they love to push and shove the woman. Say they know how to treat the woman, but they love to batter and beat the woman. Some man claim that they love the woman, but they love to push and shove the woman. Say they know how to treat the woman, but they love to batter and beat the woman. But woman tell the man them love and licks, don't mix. Girl, if you fed up at the thump and kick, girl, I'm you say love and licks, don't mix. Girl, if you fed up at the black eye and the bus slip, say love and licks, don't mix. Girl, if you fed up at the thump and kick, girl, I'm you say love and licks, don't mix. Don't bother with it, because I can't understand, man. This little woman you claim you're with, is the same woman you're quick to hit. This woman who bring forth your youths, well, every day you want hit, she's some boots. This woman you take and make your wife, well, every day you're threatening she life. With cutlass and knife, causing the woman better shite. But think about your mother and your sister, before you bruise and you blister. Think about your pretty little daughter, before you beat up and batter. Think about your little boy big knee, before you just go and kick shit. But you can live on the learn. Woman, if you better feel your skin get burned, it's your turn, tell the man them love and licks, don't mix. Girl, if you fed up at the thump and kick, well, you say love and licks, don't mix. Girl, if you fed up at the black eye and the bus slip, say love and licks, don't mix. Girl, if you fed up at the thump and kick, girl, you say love and licks, don't mix. Girl, if you fed up at the black eye and the bus slip, man, they say your daddy used to beat your mama, so you're abusing your wife too. But you know full well it wrong, so the change must begin with you. Stop manhandling the woman, bringing tears to she eyes. Then turn around and apologize if you were brutalized. Why you don't run with your sex and size? Man, be wise and think about your mother and your sister, before you bruise and you blister. Think about your pretty little daughter, before you beat up and batter. Think about your little boy picnic, before you just puff and kick shit. But you don't live what they learn. Woman, you fed up in your skin get burned. It's your turn, sing the song now. Love and licks, don't mix. Girl, if you fed up at the thump and kick, girl, you say love and licks, don't mix. Woman, you fed up at the black eye and the bus slip.
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and welcome to Dependency right here on I95.5 FM, live on the Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel. Good morning, Natasha.
Good morning, guys. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to Dependency.
And thank you very much for joining us once again for a journey inside the mind and heart of a survivor of domestic violence as we continue coming to the end of 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. We are very fortunate to have a survivor in studio with us, and of course the head of the Victim and Witness Support Unit, Ms. Aisha Corbie, and a caseworker, Ms. Bacchus, yes. Pardon me. Ms. Bacchus. They will be taking us through the journey this morning. Right now, there's someone out there, or somebody out there, who are suffering and wondering, what can they do next? What can I do next? Especially around this time, Christmas time, when you need families to be together, there is a wife or husband in a corner crying and wondering, how would this Christmas be? Should I stay for another Christmas? Well, we will find that out today. Shelly Ann is with us, and she's willing to tell you about her journey and how she got out of it.
Yes, and as we continue this series of programs during the 16 days of activism, which comes to an end on the 10th of December, which is Human Rights Day. As God said, we are very privileged to have Shelly Ann in studio with us to share her story, because we know that the stories of survivors and victims of crimes like domestic abuse or like gender-based violence are very important in terms of sharing the message about how wrong those kinds of actions are, and also how we can support those persons who may be in those circumstances. So thank you very much for joining us. If you are listening or viewing us on YouTube or Facebook, please drop a like on the live, whether it's Facebook or YouTube, and that really does help keep us on the air.
And to the song that we started with,
Yes.
that was Brother Selva Noel, you know him as Mr. Shack. He did this years ago.
Yeah, 2008 or 6, I believe.
6, and it's very relevant today. Love and licks, do mix. Good morning, Miss Corbie.
Good morning, Mrs. Sinclair. Good morning, Natasha, and good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. It's a beautiful morning, and we're delighted to be here to share on this very important topic.
Yes, and Ms. Bacchus, morning to you too. We'll be hearing from these ladies in a while. Just let listeners know that you're here with us.
Yes. Good morning, everyone.
Yes, she's very soft-spoken. But so, Miss Corbie, I guess it must have been a busy year for you all.
Unfortunately, yes, Garth. Right now we are at about 1,015 new crime victims walking through our doors each quarter. But we are really privileged to be positioned to provide that extensive range of support alongside the police officers. And I must say thank you to the Commissioner of Police, Ma'am Ilda Christopher, for continuing to support that type of intervention for crime victims on the whole, particularly domestic violence victims. And we're here smack in the center of the 16 days of activism. As you see, we're clad in orange to continue to support this plight. And to each survivor that is listening there, we just want to reiterate that help and hope is available, and feel free to reach out, even just with a question. And kudos to you who would have survived these very traumatic situations, both adults and children.
Now to the lady of the moment, Ms. Bacchus, you want to add to that?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Yes, as it relates to the Victim and Witness Support Unit, we provide holistic support focused on empowering victims through evidence-based approaches, and our interventions follow psychosocial and also investigative support. Psychosocial on an individual level through counseling, so that we can help persons cope with the psychological impacts of trauma. As it relates to the investigative support, update clients, access the liaison between the police and civilians, and provide that emotional support to prepare victims for court testimonies, and act as that advocate to support victims through the various social support services, and accompany them to court, and even provide emotional support as it relates to the various agencies through community and group intervention, and also on a national level in terms of policy and programs.
All right. Anybody have to turn their radio up?
She's very soft-spoken.
Yes, very soft-spoken.
But before we
Ms. Bacchus.
go to Shelly Ann, I just wanted to ask Miss Corbie about this year's observance of 16 days. Is there anything, something that we observe every year, but is there anything that you have noted in your work this year that seems more pronounced, or that we should be paying more attention to?
Right, I've seen a great attraction of survivors themselves getting involved and getting their voice a part of the conversation, and sharing their journeys, and that is very promising to us. We're also seeing a deeper interest among our teens and our children on this issue, especially our teens, and that too we know is the direction we need to go in terms of sensitizing and educating our teens. Ms. Bacchus does significant work in various police youth clubs, and in terms of the area where she serves at Maloney Station. So we have seen the need, and we are seeing also a number of schools having their children be exposed to various workshops or sensitization on this issue. Because we know starting this education at 25, or when the GBV encounter occurs, sometimes is a little late. Not necessarily too late, but where individuals are tooled with the knowledge before they start to navigate relationships and love and what do these things mean, it's good for them to have those ingredients to be a part of the decisions that they would have to make regarding interpersonal relationships, and also to clarify what they may be seeing in their homes for those that would have grown up in homes where domestic violence may have been the norm or may have been just the experience of whether the boys or the girls in that home. Yeah?
Right. So, to the lady of the moment, Shelly Ann, good morning to you.
Good morning, everyone.
We give Shelly Ann a chance to settle in. We take a break, and when we return, we'll hear from her. But just before we go to that break, what made you decide to do this today, Shelly Ann?
Well, for one, I realized that in my scenario, I wished there was someone out there who spoke about what I'm going through now, so that it would have given me that courage to do what I needed to do. And just for me to be aware of that situation in itself, because I think lack of education, being educated in relationships and things to look out for, like red flags and stuff, I knew nothing about. I was just engulfed in my entire situation and just thinking it was normal. So I think awareness is important. So I am happy to be in this position today where I could help to bring awareness to someone out there who may be going through the same thing, and probably to encourage them to do what they need to do. Yeah, a step in the right direction.
Yeah, so just as the counter-trafficking unit, they take care of victims who go through the same thing at the hands of perpetrators. But to live with one, and just like the Office of the Prime Minister, Gender and Child Affairs Division, they too do the same thing. But actually live with someone who's a perpetrator, someone you have to go to bed with, wake up with, come home and meet, still cook for,
Go out in public with, and act like everything normal.
It's not an easy thing to do. So maybe sometimes, Natasha, when we approach a counter and meet someone who treats us really bad, they probably bring that stuff to work with them.
Perhaps.
But not say anything and just take it out on the public too, you know. So sometimes
it calls for a little compassion and understanding when dealing with people, because you really don't know. I mean, not just domestic violence, but any personal issue that people may be having. You don't know what people are going through, as they say, you know.
All right, so if you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and after this break, you're going to hear the testimony of Shelly Ann, and giving her support is my job, the Victim and Witness Support Unit, Miss Aisha Corbie, and caseworker, Miss Bacchus. We're going to break. We'll be back. Stay right there.
Yes, girl. Line here with this weirdo named Larry. I'm getting rid of him now. Let's take a selfie. It looking good, boy. I putting it online.
Hey, I thought you say you went to the beach with your parents.
Who's you?
It's me, Larry, from online.
Do you want to support our work at Eye on Dependency? Here are 3 ways to do so. You can make a donation to the Eye on Dependency account at Republic Bank. You can follow the Eye on Dependency page on Facebook. You can subscribe to the Eye on Dependency channel on YouTube. Liking, commenting, and sharing the live on a Sunday also helps. Thanks in advance for your support.
Some man claim that they love the woman, but they love to push and shove the woman. Say they know how to treat the woman, but they love to shove and beat the woman. Some man claim that they love the woman, but they love to push and shove the woman. Some man claim that they love the woman, but they love to push and shove the woman. Say they know how to treat the woman, but they love to beat the woman. Some man claim that they love the woman, but they love to push and shove the woman.
Thank you for staying with us. Tash.
Yes, and we were just speaking about something off here. I don't know if that's the right place for us to jump in this conversation, but maybe not. Let's
Shelly.
let's ease ourselves in, and Shelly Ann, just tell us about a little bit about yourself as much as you can and your family and when this started.
Okay. Well, I don't even want to say unfortunately, but this story started about 24 years back. So I knew my husband for 4 years before we got married. And we were married for 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah. When I met him, things were real nice, just as any relationship. Lots of gifts, flooded with all kind of nice stuff. You know, the courting period was nice. So I felt, like I could have engaged with this person. I said, all right, yeah, well, we're going good, No, like any other relationships, we had little disagreements, and I mean, I would have said, okay, well, I'm not perfect, and he's not perfect either, so it's all good, all right? I don't want to be there downing him for a situation that happened, and then I turn up, So I was like, okay, cool. But I think over the period of time, the situations got, or even some of the disagreements, got a little more heated, where curse words would pass. He would attack me by insulting me and telling me about my body, and, with great attempts to make me feel lesser than a person. And he will see me crying after, and he'll be like, I only tell you that because of X, and you make me tell you that because you make me get mad. And so I was like, okay, but I'm still feeling hurt.
Yeah.
I'm still feeling lesser than, So I said, okay, every time these things happen, I'll be like, girl, I mean, it have people out there going through worse, But we could work through this, bypass it, and move along.
No, were your parents still alive when all of this?
All of this. They knew nothing. Nothing. I kept quiet.
Wow.
I kept quiet because I'm telling myself, this had to be something normal because everybody have their little issues. And he kept pumping it in my head that, when you have your personal relationship and your personal issues, you're not supposed to be going around and talk about it.
Absolutely.
So it was basically forbidden for me to talk about things that would have, or matters that would have happened at home, especially things that I would have been.
Let's go back a little bit. Did you see this with your mother and father?
My mother and father had a rocky relationship. They never got physical, but there was abuse. But what was stood out for me, what was most prominent was financial abuse. Very rare they will have outbursts or curse one another, but the abuse was more silent, but it was ridiculously affecting the entire family. My dad was a teacher, and my mom wasn't entitled to any finances. Even at the grocery, she was only entitled to push the trolley, and if she only made a mistake and pick up an item, he will insult her for it, even at the cashier. So she used to just go along with him in the grocery and dare not pick up anything. He will make sure he cash, and even if the cashier gives change and she is to receive it, he takes it from her. So I saw that.
Homemaker.
She was a dedicated mother, getting up 5 o'clock, cooking, making sure he eats before he goes to work, making sure she sets us off for school. And it went as far as so when she started to have medical issues, because it was 6 of us, she needed multivitamins and stuff because her hair started to fall off of stress, and her teeth started to, deteriorate in her mouth, and he had access to health care that he could have passed on to my mother, and he never saw it as, he never took interest in it. And he started to insult her as well, too. So when they have teachers gathering in school, like Christmas dinners and stuff, he will be like, everybody will carry their wife or the significant other, and he would never carry her. He would never or took interest to dress her up, buy something for her to wear, to attend to these dinners or whatever. He will leave her home. And what had her hurt is that he will come home and boast about how this one looks sexy, and that one looks sexy, and if you see the dress she was wearing, and my mother will sit and she will cry because she has never gotten the opportunity to, dress and stand up with him and,
So your mother was literally subservient.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
No, she didn't reach out to anybody to talk about.
It was held at home.
Mm-hmm.
No one knew.
So you see the connection I'm trying to make?
Yes.
Okay. So
and of
go
course
ahead.
the children were observing what was happening.
We observed it. And
couldn't say anything.
We just was told, this is our private family affair, so we shouldn't talk about it.
Yeah.
So you see the connection?
Yes.
So you
definitely. Yeah.
So you decided to do the same thing as your mom?
I didn't know. With that, my mother stuck with him till the very end, and she always said she don't want a broken home because she came from a broken home, so she don't want to separate the family unit. So even though she was enduring certain things, what comforted her is that she felt she was doing a good thing by saying, I'm staying in it for my children, which was something I picked up eventually. But she stood in it and thought she was doing a great good, and she stuck it out to the end. Well, he eventually passed away about 3 years, 2021. But she didn't even know how to cry for his funeral because there was so much things that she had bottled up inside that she felt that they could have worked out, and it never was. There was never an attempt to talk about it and work through and let him know how she felt about certain things, or even to bring some type of resolve. So that was their scenario that eventually passed on to me to some extent, right? So with me, here I have someone who is, no, my father never used to purchase stuff for my mother and so, but I have somebody now who is, showering me with gifts and things, is something I never saw at my home. So I was like, wow, this is good goal,
Yes.
So I kept overlooking everything that was bad, and I just was focusing on the good little aspects that I saw, So even in confrontations, there was one time, or two times as a matter of fact, where he was unfaithful. I found him out, and I did confront the situation. And I was angry because I was angry and hurt at the same time. And I was like, why you would do this? You know, he said, well, I was frustrated. You was frustrated me, and that's why I went and do it. Like, I was like, okay, I caused you to do this. But anyway, my children, at the early part of the marriage, I had my son. Before I had my son, I had some problems having children. So I had a couple of miscarriages before I had my son. So when I got my son, I was overjoyed because I thought I couldn't have any children. Now I have my son, so I was happy. And following the events following after when I had my son had me questioning a lot of stuff because the way he treated with me after the fact, it had me bothered. He started to insult my body, like body shame me for stretch marks, my breast hanging, you know. And I was like, why are you insulting me for that? Here I am innocent, and I'm thinking, well, it's not my fault, you know. So that was hurtful. And I said, you know what? This period will pass. I will get back my normal self, and I'll be good. But he started to not want to look at me, treat me a particular way at home. And I mean, in talking to me and stuff, he started to sound like he barking at me kind of way. It's like, so why you treating me like that? And even when intimacy was in the picture, he would turn away. So in my mind, I looking that horrible, you know. But I said, okay, fine. Soon after I had my son, I think he was about a year and something, I now started to find back myself. I said, all right, take my vitamins and try to fix my body so that he would now appreciate me.
So that you would be more attractive to him then.
Yeah.
And how was he, before you go on, how was he with your son? I mean, as a father,
He was okay, no. He was buying Pampers and milk. We would make sure the house had everything. But when it came down to me, it was like there was always a issue.
Kind of disconnect.
Yeah. So he will come home and he will play with the child and everything and make sure he had everything. That was the one thing I didn't have to study about. But there was something happening. There was something brewing behind. And it was affecting me. You know? So after that, I got pregnant with my daughter. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go through this thing again. I was happy for her, you know. Never regretted my children up until this day. But I was just thinking about how he's going to look at me now. And even when I got pregnant with her, I went through a lot of morning sickness. I got really, really thin. I got really, really thin and had to go to the hospital a lot because I was throwing up throughout. And on top of that, my son was still nursing. So my body was really, really weak. And I was looking, I could safely say I was looking in a mess, you know. He didn't give me any reassurance around this time that, or to tell me, girl, you're beautiful, girl, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just for a time, you'll be okay.
I mean, you're the mother of his children. Yeah. You expect that kind of care and concern.
Didn't get that type of support, but if everything else, the finances, he would make sure that is in check. When I was about 7 months pregnant, I realized he barely wanted to touch me at all. Around that time, phone calls kept coming on his phone, and if I happened to pick up the phone and answer it, the person will hang up, you know. So I was like, why? What's going on here? So I started to check up on that, and I realized that he was having and a relation. Well, he had an affair outside of what we had going on. So I was like, okay, I need to confront the situation, but I need have more facts. But there was a morning I got up 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, yeah, it was 3 o'clock. And I realized he wasn't lying down next to me in the bed. So I just got up and I went and I saw the front door open, but it wasn't closed properly. But when I pushed the door, I realized I was hearing mumbling. We were still building, so there was some bricks up to the front of the yard. And I was hearing mumbling behind there, so some just told me just walk up there. And when I walked up to that pile of bricks, I realized that he was stooping down behind the bricks, having a conversation with the person that I suspected. Wow. So my belly bigger, and I was mad. So I launched behind him, and I took the phone from him. And I was like, who are you speaking to? So I put the phone by my ears, and here I am now speaking to the young lady. And she's telling me the whens and the how. And she said, I apologize. And if I know he was married, I would never. I was like, oh my God. So this is all the confirmation I need. What am I going to do with this? So
she claimed she didn't know that he was married.
Yeah, she claimed she didn't know. And he was like, oh my God, I'm sorry. But this wouldn't happen if he wasn't getting on so stupid. So immediately I got the blame for him having an affair. He said, but you just be getting on stupid all the time. Everything you have a problem with. Here I am, I have 2 children to see about. Sometime in the night, 2 of them crying. Sometimes one get up, you set him down to sleep, and the next one get up not long after, and she's crying. So, oh my God. Oh no, not at that time. I didn't have my daughters yet. But I mean, I was going through some stuff. And he apparently didn't have the time to understand what my body and what I was going through. So.
What age you all got married? How old were you?
21.
Oh,
wow.
I was young. Both of us were same age. Same age.
At any point, did you know about his family and what he might have witnessed when he was growing up as well?
His family, he didn't have a good
upbringing.
Yeah, he didn't have a good upbringing, and his father abandoned him from the time he was born. So his father never even bought a Pampers for him. So he always said he wanted to have children, and when he have children, he's going to not do what his father did by making sure his children have the things that they need. Mm-hmm. So I believe in his mind, he was accomplishing what his father didn't accomplish by securing the children and making sure they're good.
But not thinking about the relationship that brings about these children and how that has to be.
So that part wasn't
maintained and protected.
A priority. It didn't seem like a priority to me. Yeah. Right? And here I was suffering behind the scene and wondering to myself, am I overreacting? Is it that I am thinking about myself and I just feeling this type of way, always questioning myself, even when he will launch out and he will be cursing me and insulting me and stuff like that. I am there in the end always questioning myself, did I really push him to do that? So these are the questions flooding my mind, and eventually I will always roll over and say, well, okay, we only human. I just make mistakes, he make mistakes. Okay. So I think me doing that gave him ammunition to do worse in the end, because I'm looking back at it from now, and I'm saying, had I made the steps in the earlies, my end situation wouldn't have been the way it is now. So fast forwarding to after having children, I always pride myself in wanting to do things for myself or trying to be independent. And when my children was about the age to go to school, I wanted to go back out and fulfill my dreams in Now I was into nursing, and I started to do therapy, massage therapy, and I always wanted to open a business eventually doing those things and helping people in that way. When I mentioned it to him, he was like, the children small, what you going out there and work for? I see about everything, I paying the bills, I buying all the food. What you going out and work for? What you going to do with the children? So I said, okay. After a couple of times having those conversations, it would have always ended up heated because he would be determined that I stay home and see about the children, right? So I said, you know what? Really and truly, the one thing I never wanted was to just drop my children by daycare and stuff like that, or have somebody come and see about the children. So I said, you know what? Let me humble myself a little bit until the children get a little older, and then I could always launch out and fulfill whatever it is I wanted to do in life.
Now, and by then, how many children you would have had for him?
Two.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and we are listening to Shelly Ann tell her story. In studio with us also is Miss Aisha Corbie and Miss Bacchus, caseworker at the Victim and Witness Support Unit. Shelly, you're doing a great job. I'm sure that those who are listening to you are going through the same thing.
Yeah.
And I want people to understand is this century she's talking about here. This happened not in the 60s. This happened, go ahead.
I was
Shelly.
just going to ask about your family. I mean, I know you said you didn't tell anybody, not even your siblings, no friends, nobody at work, nobody. But did anybody inquire about how you were doing, especially during that difficult pregnancy?
Well, there was one of my sisters who used to be by me a lot, and she had a little first hand into seeing what was going on. She had questions. She did question me a lot about it, and we did speak to some extent, but she didn't understand how severe it was, because I didn't open up and went into much details, because again, I'm trying to keep my private life private. And with all respect to what he wanted, is that I don't go around telling people stuff, because he was very concerned about how people view him. Right? And then if there was one point in time he found I was going by my mom a lot, especially when we had disagreements, and he would always assume that I'm running up there to tell my mother. So when I come back home, he would be attacking me. I sure you went up there and you tell her all kind of thing. I see you watching me a kind of way. And so I always have to be now walking on eggshells, even if I feel to tell somebody about what was happening, which was uncomfortable, because I was there now suffering in silence. You know?
And I think perhaps your sister didn't know how to help you, which is part of the awareness that we want to share on this program. So I don't know if Ms. Corbie gonna jump in here.
Yeah, first I want to just say thank you for your bravery this morning, Shelly Ann, and also to persons that are listening. I believe that this information can be triggering to some of our listeners. So we just urge you to, if you have to step away and take a moment, take a breath, because it may just remind persons of a existing intense and traumatic situation. So thanks again for your bravery, Shelly Ann. There's so many points that Shelly Ann would have highlighted today, are immensely educational experience right now in terms of victim blaming and how in these experiences the perpetrator may blame you for the abuse or blame you as to why they have to have an affair. So you feel so isolated and separated, and that sometimes may paralyze or cause the relatives to be unsure as to how to respond, because after a while you have become in that space where it's just you and him, right? Because it's our private business, and you often get pulled into somewhat of a cocoon, and persons may not really understand what is happening, because when you go out to events or so, they may put on a facade and everything is okay. So no one may believe, wait, that is him, are you sure? Or that is her? But family sometimes may really not know how to respond in some instances. And family, because of history and how they're raised, because she highlighted how her childhood was.
Yes.
The family may say, well, everyone does have their little issues. You need to stick it out. Or you need to stick it out for the children. Or where are you going to leave with these children and do what? To find
And go
somebody
where?
new?
Yes.
Right. So all of these are very real scenarios that play in the survivor's mind. And sometimes the family member, as you mentioned, her sister, may feel, okay, I've spoken to you once, I've spoken to you twice, come moving by me or just leave. You probably don't want to leave, so. And this phrase that I often always rethink when I hear it is because you like it. Right? So I don't know what to do with you again.
Yeah.
And we've had experiences where clients may tell us, this is what my family may say, and I don't want to try and go by them again because they'll be fed up of me. But there's so many things, God, that goes through the mind of the survivor to just pick up and leave.
Or even to have someone interject into what you now understand to be a private thing.
Right.
That really should not be private because you're being abused. This is something that you need to tell the world, in fact. But because of the mindset that you're in now, you feel like anybody coming and trying to rescue you or trying to intervene is going to make it worse for you.
It would have made it worse. Yes.
But did you try to hint to your sister that something was going on?
She knew, but again, not the severity of things. She will be like, kill me, but with that shippiness, But I being the eldest of the children, of all of them, she was basically looking at me to see what I will do rather than give me advice, because she is the younger one looking for hope, and probably me setting an example. And I probably needed to understand that, because just as much as my sister was looking on, I also had my children looking on, and I didn't even realize it, that they were noticing a trend. And they just, they absorbed it. And there was one point in time when my daughter, she started to get a little older, and she started to verbalize what was happening. She said, but mommy, why you staying here taking this stupidness? Why you just don't go? And I tell her, I said, well, Chelsea, you're young, and what are you going to do with all you? I don't have the financial backing to take you all and leave. And she'll be like, mommy, I prefer starve.
Wow.
When she said that, it made me feel a type of way.
Was it affecting their schoolwork?
Definitely. My son is right now suffering from low self-esteem, because just as how he would have verbally abused me, he started to verbally abuse my son. Because my son was way taller and bigger than him. He's a bit short. He started to scream and shout at my son and call him an idiot and tell me he's stupid and stuff like that. So my son will now, because of his height, he started to walk around and slouch his back and be with his head down all the time. So he stopped wanting to socialize in school. He was even getting bullied at school. So when he was bullied at school and getting this at home, I had to really, really fight with him to pull him back, because he started to talk like if he lose hope, and then now they're seeing this with me. And my daughter, she was doing really good at school, and when things started to intensify, she just started to decline until the school had to call me and tell me that she's coming to school and she's spacing out and she crying. So when she's not crying at home, she being all strong at home, she's going and sitting in school in the quiet moment and she's crying. And the guidance counselor had to call me, but she said, what are you doing about this? You need to do something about it. I know I needed to do something about it, but I just didn't have the belly to do it. And I will have everybody encouraging me and telling me, girl, you need to put on your foot, do something about that. The children do it at least for the children. It's like, I want to, you know.
What about mommy? Did you ever, because mothers know, sometimes we hide it from mothers, but mothers know.
That is so true.
If I may, because the research we had a few years ago would have spoken to most survivors often will tell mommy first before they go to the police, before they go to a counselor or so. So a mother has a key role to play in how women navigate this whole DV space. But let me hand back over to Shelly Ann.
Because some mothers send you back to the situation.
Exactly. That is what
you like your husband, you marry him already, you're committed, go back and take your licks. Yes. You don't say it in so many words, but that's what. Go ahead, Shelly.
But in my situation, I kept it away from my mother up until just last year. It's only then she knew. Just last year, my mother finally knew about what was going on at my home. So that was about 19 years of my mother not knowing. Had she known, she would have definitely helped me make steps towards getting out of there.
But she didn't know what did she suspect?
She suspected certain things about how the individual would have behaved. And as a mother, she just didn't like certain things, but she didn't want to be pushy or intervene because here I am, she's noticing stuff, but I didn't tell her anything. So she probably was just waiting for me to say, this is what I'm going through, and she will be like, I could have told that was going on, but I kept it together for the entire time. And it was killing me slowly.
No, and after a while, it became physical, right?
Of course.
Let's stick a pin right there. If you have a chance to catch a bit, drink some water. If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and we are listening to Shelly's testimony this morning of 20 years of abuse at the hands of her husband. Some of you listening right now actually can. You are walking in her shoes right now, and you are following her story. You're experiencing the same thing. What did Shelly do about it? Well, before we wrap up, you will hear, and you decide what you want to do. You're listening to Dependency. Those of you on Facebook and YouTube, remember, please, while you're there, like and subscribe to the channel. If you're having any problem on Facebook, you just hop across to the YouTube channel. Welcome those of you on 95.5 FM. We're going to take a break. We'll be back.
Ah boy. Feel like going to buy myself a senorita tonight.
Nah. You know you might be promoting slavery.
Slavery? What are you talking about?
Hey, modern day slavery or human trafficking is just what some of these people just do. You know some of these women were tricked to come here? Some are held against their will, abused, and even beaten. Most times the girls don't even see any of the money that is paid for them. And every night, they just have to come out looking nice and sexy for somebody like you. Human trafficking is a serious problem and a serious crime. Persons who solicit commercial sex services may be contributing to human trafficking. A message from the Counter-Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security.
Hello Trinidad, my name is Suzette, a Trinidadian inmate at HMP Draycott, Staffordshire, England, and you are listening to Dependency with Garth and Natasha. Please, don't traffic drugs. The money is not worth it, trust me.
jump and giggle, let me hear you say. Love and licks don't mix. Girl, if you fed up of the black eye and the bus slip, say. Love and licks don't mix. Girl, if you fed up of the jump and giggle, let me hear you say. Love and licks don't mix. Don't bother with it, because I can't understand, man. This little woman you claim you're with is the same woman you're quick to hit. This woman who bring forth your youths. Well, every day you want hit she some boots. This woman you take and make your wife. Well, every day you threatening she life. With cutlass and knife, cause in the woman better shite. But think about your mother and your sister before you bruise and you blister. Think about your pretty little daughter before you beat up and butter. Think about your little boy big knee before you just go and kick shit. But you run live for the learn. Woman, if you fed up till your skin get burned, it's your turn, tell the man them. Love and licks don't mix. Girl, if you fed up at the jump and giggle, let me hear you say. Love and licks don't mix. Girl, if you fed up at the black eye and the bus slip, say. Love and licks don't mix. Girl, if you fed up at the jump and giggle, let me hear you say. Love and licks don't mix. Girl, if you fed up at the black eye and the bus slip, man. You say your daddy used to beat your mama, so you're abusing your wife too. But you know full well it wrong, so the change must begin with you. Stop man handling the woman, bringing tears to she eyes. Then turn around and apologize if you were brutalized. Why you don't run with your sex and size? Man, be wise and think about your mother and your sister before you bruise and you blister. Think about your pretty little daughter before you beat up and batter. Think about your little boy Picky before you just scuff and kick she. But you don't live what they learn.
Thank you for staying with us. You're listening to Dependency, Shelly Ann. So you have a lot. You after 20 years, you can't tell it in 2 hours.
That is all right.
You know, but it got physical. When did it start getting physical?
I must say, physical. We had physical altercations from in the very earlies. It would have started with him pelting stuff at me, or just a one lash, you know. It would have happened after a heated argument, and sometimes he would tell me things, and I decided, well, you know, I'm not having that, so I might respond, and then he will get angry because I respond in a particular way. So, I mean, it would go on and on and on until he would get physical and just lash out. So there was one point in time he sailed a chair behind me, a metal chair, and it damaged my arm. Another time he picking up a heater and holding it by the cord and swinging it to hit me in my face. And always, for some reason, I realized he always trying to damage my face, so at least people will see that I get lash or something of the sort.
Or probably to prevent you from going out in public.
I don't know what was his main, but always be aiming for my face. And there was one point in time, he took up a hair cutter, held it by the cord, and he swung it to hit me in my face. I raised up my hand, and it ended up hitting me on my wrist. My wrist was swollen. Mind you, all this time I'm experiencing these things. And if he only see that I have a little interest of going in the station, you have to remember, this is what he will tell me, you have to remember, if you go in the station, make me get locked up. The children going to suffer. You're not going to get any money. So I am now thinking, if I go in the station, and he really get locked up, how I seen about these two children? You know? And he'll be like, yes, and I will get a criminal record and I wouldn't be able to get work. So you better don't. So I always not going in the station and reporting stuff because I'm thinking about long term, it's going to affect us financially. We won't be able to pay bills, children wouldn't be able to eat. So how am I going to function? That is what will be going through my mind. So I will take up myself quietly, go to the hospital, seek medical attention for whatever damages I got.
What would you say to the hospital? Because you have to explain to them well.
There was one time I lied and said I fall down. There was another time I lied and said me and my brother was fighting and he damaged my hand. But there was one point in time I got real angry. That was when he damaged my wrist, and I told him, I said my husband did it. And she said, but did you go to the station? No, I did not. She said, because you were supposed to do a medical. I said, no, it's okay. And they did attend to me. But in her mind, at the reception, she was like, you're supposed to go and report that. But in my mind, if I go to the station to get a medical, of course I have to make a report. And I didn't want them to follow up and do him or tell him anything, because he will get angry. And then he will come back at me. So I'm thinking about that as well as it may affect him in terms of him having a criminal record or record of abusing his wife, and our finances will go haywire. So,
and that is one of the ways, obviously, of controlling the abused party. But in terms of the intervention by medical personnel, for instance, is there a way, apart from just asking the person to make a report, is there some other way that they could support the victim to do that? Because, I mean, it's one thing to tell somebody to go and make a report. It's another thing if you say, I will go with you to make the report. You know,
even
take
if
that extra step.
Even if somebody said it was going with me, I was so frightened of what would have happened after that I was not going to go at that point in time, because that fear is still there. Because I'm seeing how physical and how how bad things could get. So I don't want him to be vindictive or launch back behind me, And he will always use finances to have us by the grip.
Yes.
All the time.
Let me let Thea speak to that, Ms. Bacchus, in terms of if it is you go to the hospital, what type of intervention we could probably do, and as well as that kind of hold, that manipulation that may occur.
Yeah, most definitely. First, we need to just remember that domestic violence it's a pattern of abusive behaviors, and it speaks to manipulative behaviors, and this would speak to fear. And now the perpetrator, in most cases, they create this narrative of fear that the survivor believes. So as much as other persons might render that level of support, they already have this narrative that is ingrained in them that if I do leave, this is going to happen, because this is their cycle that they are living through. As it relates to support, we have adopted the trauma-informed approach, which speaks to multi-collaboration with other agencies, because some persons, they may not go directly to the police station. However, they may go to the medical institution. And here is where we do get referrals from the hospital, from nurses within our community as it relates to domestic violence. And the Victim and Witness Support Unit, we have a domestic violence response policy that speaks to the various types of referral. So one, there is the referral in person, where persons can walk into the police station and get that support. There's also in terms of the reporting, where they make a report to the gender-based violence unit, and that is a specialized unit who is trained in domestic violence. So they can then make a referral to our unit to provide that psychosocial support and investigative support. When persons do come to the Victim and Witness Support Unit, what we do is that, one, we explain our role and function to them, and we also conduct needs assessment, and this would speak to safety screenings. Are there threats to harm the person or property? What's safety risk that the person might be facing, and even the minors in the home as well? All right. Are there safe accommodations? So is it that they have to be referred to a hostel, safe houses, and so on, or even stay with a relative if they do have that support? And also, is the victim fearful for his or her safety at that moment, and how do we provide that psychological safety for them by providing resources so that they can be aware that there are other options, even though they have been told there's only one lifeline in terms of that dependency. So we want to foster a place where they can get that self-sufficiency by exposing them to resources, and most importantly, understanding the history. Is there a history of threats, a history of abuse, so that we now know how to help this person navigate this present situation of the aftermath trauma.
So would it be helpful maybe if relatives or friends who suspect that something is happening with their loved one, can they come to you and say, my sister's going through this, how can you help?
Yes, they can, because we have gotten referrals from NGOs as well, because persons would reach out to NGOs within their community or even in the churches and so on. And they can, what they do is that they would share the person's contact and we can engage them. And we have had cases where, it was really hard for them to speak out about it. But once they recognize, okay, this is a confidential source, but we always relay, as it relates to confidentiality, that we do work in the police service and we do want them to be safe. So we foster or encourage them to make the report. But once they do get that support from this one particular person, they then make the report, because sometimes that's what they really need, to know that they're not alone.
All right, so let's see how Shelly Ann got to that point. But Shelly Ann, there was more physical abuse.
Yeah.
Are there weapons involved? Any?
Yeah. So I will fast forward to, let's say, somewhat in the middle of the time period that we would have been married. Children started to get a little older, and I stepped out and I ventured out into getting work and advancing myself in terms of studies and stuff like that. This is when things started to become much more heated, and I would have seen high levels of his abusive behavior towards me, and it would have ranged from mental abuse, physical abuse, financial abuse, everything. So because I was dependent on him for finances, he didn't like the fact that I wanted to advance myself and go out to work. What I gather is that he was very insecure. So if as much as I will go in front of the mirror and dress myself to leave the house, and if I put on a little powder or spend a few minutes a little long behind my hair, combing my hair and stuff, he would be passing and cursing and telling me, what the F you're doing in front of that mirror so long? So I now started to feel uncomfortable just dressing in front of the mirror. So I used to, sometimes I come out of the bathroom and I leave in to go to work, I will be hiding in small mirrors and just trying to brush up my hair quick to leave the house, because he's monitoring me in front of the mirror. And as much as that got from bad to worse, where our bathroom was in our bedroom. As I come out the bathroom, he will make sure he's lying down right there, and he's looking at even the underwear I put on to go to work. And if I only make a mistake and pack as much as a extra underwear or a piece of work clothing, because sometimes I'm out whole day, and it's from one location to the next, I may take a bath at the facility and freshen up myself. He will be attacking me about clothes that I put on, and why I put on that underwear, and why you packing clothes. So you have to pack clothes to go on the road. So everything had a question mark on it. I started lecturing as well, and I wouldn't call the name of the institution, but I started to lecture as well. And just as much as students calling me, he got aggravated, and he would be cursing while I'm on the phone with students. During COVID was the worst, where I was there doing online with the students, and he's passing up and down, and he's threatening me that he's going to embarrass me while I'm online. And he started to get more and more aggressive with it, right? So I noticed that, and then when I did things and he wasn't happy about it, I wouldn't get money to put gas to go to work. So thank God I had a little end and I was doing it, and I was able to put my own gas. But he will withhold certain things like money for Pennywise and stuff like that. If he's vexed, he ain't giving it. If he's okay and he happy about last night and the week's what transpired during the week, he will give it freely. Other than that, yeah, don't get him vexed, because he not passing any money.
So with all that abuse, he still wanted to be intimate with you?
Yeah. So in the night, I don't go around telling people stuff like this, but the thing about it is, he made me feel obligated that I have to. And for me, I felt less of a person, because here I am not feeling love, feeling resentful, and you're passing me straight in the day, you're cursing me, you're telling me how ugly, you're telling me I'm a body this, and something always wrong with my breasts, and you're making insultive comments, and then you want me to lie down in the night and be normal with you. And it have times 3 o'clock in the morning, he will be there, and because I decline, he will be screaming, you know, you don't ever effing want anything, and you always have some so-and-so problem. And I tell you, I had enough for the neighbors to hear 3 o'clock in the morning. So I really started to cocoon myself, as they rightfully said. I started to cocoon myself because here I am feeling obligated because he's now telling me, so where you want me to go for it? Now, if I withhold it, he will really go outside and do it, which he probably was doing anyways, you know.
So you just
and then blame me back.
So you just give your
body. So I was just there. Literally just there.
You know, this sounds like you were held by a captor.
It started to feel because when I was talking to someone about it, I told him, I said it felt as though I was in a jail cell without actual bars.
Yeah.
And without me having my basic human rights.
That's exactly what it was.
You know?
Now, did the children did your daughter also pass in the physical abuse as well?
Yeah, eventually. So this fast forward into last year, where I decided to make a stand. And I think me making a stand was bringing all the heat. Everything came down on me in terms of the levels of abuse from him. I talking about him running me down with cutlass, accusing me of having affairs with persons, going through my phone and calling my clients and threatening them and telling them don't call back that phone again, taking pictures of me on my pulling pictures from my phone and sending it to my mother and telling my mother that he will kill me, you know. All this is what was happening. Now, last year was, and I'm saying last year, it was really year ending last year. That would have been around October, November, December. I started to feel so frustrated because this man had GPS in my vehicle. And for me not to talk to my mother or anybody, he had mics and recording my conversations.
In the vehicle?
So, yes. Because he gave me the vehicle, I couldn't, no, the vehicle was on his name, I couldn't go in the station and say, this man have a GPS, I would like you all to take it out. No, rightfully gave it to me, the vehicle was mine, but in the eyes of the law, because it's still registered on his name, yes, I cannot go and say, well, take out this from it, take out that from it, because he could always go and say, that's my vehicle, where she take out that from. He did. I asked him about the GPS. I said, could you remove it? Because if I don't have access to the GPS, it doesn't make sense, because he's claiming that the GPS is there in case somebody steals the vehicle. But really and truly, he was using the GPS to track me, and he didn't want to give me access to it, even though I'm the person who driving the vehicle. So I find that was too much. And then on top of that, you're recording me in the vehicle in case I'm making calls and talking to anybody. And then how I end up knowing that is that a couple of times I called my mother, and we weren't talking about him, because as I tell you, I didn't tell my mother much. But like family issues, other family issues, he will come back and tell me about it because he was recording my conversations. So that alone had me feeling more and more like I was in jail. So sometimes if I just want a free moment and I need a vehicle, I will park it up at a location and I will leave it and go. Take a taxi, go. When he realized I was doing that, he get infuriated, more and more infuriated. So he started to follow me. So he's tracking me with the GPS device and then jumping in other vehicles and following me. I'm going to work, he's following me. I went asking to go, even if I go out with friends, if I say, well, I want to go out to a reunion or whatever, the guy is following me. He is following me. And then coming back, and when I come back, he's making remarks about when I'm on this line and why you're talking to this one and why you're talking to that one, you know. So And even if I leave the house and I'm going to pay a bill or whatever, he will be calling me nonstop. Every few minutes, he's calling. What are you doing? Which party is? Which party is? So, for me, that was over frustrating. But, I mean, that happened last year, and I decided to put a stop. And this particular time, I packed up my vehicle, and I went into Shogunas to do some shopping for myself. And this is the particular scenario that made me say, you know what?
Enough is enough.
That's it.
Yeah.
That is it. So I went and did my shopping. And from the time he realized I probably packed that vehicle up, because he was calling me, and I was not taking his calls. I just wanted a free moment for myself to breathe. And did my shopping. He's there calling. I probably got 30 calls that day. And I traveled and I came back up the road and I pick up my vehicle. And as I'm about to close my vehicle door and the rearview mirror is coming back in alignment with the side of the vehicle, I am seeing him walking towards me in the car park from behind. So apparently he tracked the vehicle there and he's parked up in the car park somewhere behind where I couldn't see him. So when I saw him, I jumped. And I was like, what really going on? So he came, and before I could close the door, he blocked me from closing the door. And then he started to shove his hand in my face. He demanded that I give him my phone. Who it is now, drop you there. But I drop out a taxi. Don't, who man now, drop you there. And what's that? And he was grabbing my neck and stuff. And I'm talking about in Sun Plaza. In Sun Plaza. And here I am feeling embarrassed. And of course, people passing by and they minding the business. But he's telling me, I went by a man and I went and do so. You know, I have the bag of stuff that I went and purchased in Shogunas. And he is there attacking me, accusing me of being, or packing up the vehicle because I went with a man. And so infuriated. And then he tell me, you want to see something? You want to see something? And he pull up his jersey and show me a gun handle. I don't know if it's a real gun or not, but he pull up his jersey and show me on his waist. So I am there shaking. Oh. Shaking because I tell myself, this it? You know, I thought he was really going to do me, well, he was going to pull it out. But his focus was getting into my phone, and I was now trying to take it back because I realized he's calling persons on my phone. So that went on for a few minutes, and he's cursing me. He said, you playing games with me? You playing games with me? So I'm now trying to close the door because in my mind, if I get a chance, I'm driving off from here. At one point in time, he saw something on my phone and he walked away. And with that, I closed the van door. And I just reversed and drove out of there. But after I drove out, I realized that his van key with the scuffle ended up in my vehicle. I said, you know what? I ain't carrying it back.
Right.
Correct. So I continued driving, and I was driving with urgency because in my mind, I'm going in the station. But I can't call anybody because he have my phone. So I stopped by an internet cafe on my way, and I was in St. Helens, and I purchased what we call a Me Too. And I was able to purchase a SIM the same time, and I was calling my mom, calling my sister, but for some reason I wasn't getting on to any of them. I say, you know what? Keep pushing. Continue in my van. And I say, you know what? I'm going home. Because there was something was telling me I will have enough chance to pick up the children and drive across by my mom, drop them, and then go in the station. So when I pulled in my yard eventually, all I could see is my two children shooting out of the house. Mommy, what happened? Mommy, what happened? Apparently, he called the children and tell them, well, he called my daughter and told her that, you see, your mother, I'm going to put her in a body bag. So my daughter and them, they got so frightened. When she told me that, I reversed one time. I said, all right, I go on. And my daughter, she said, oh, Mommy, no, I'm coming with you. I said, no, I'm going, I have to go now. That child jumped in my van while it was still rolling backwards. with no slippers on her foot, just to be with me because she was so frightened. And when I hit the highway on my way to Food Basket, I saw, all I could see is my daughter turn around and she started to scream. It's because he gets somebody to pick him up from there, bring him up the road, and he picked up another vehicle, which is a pickup, and already behind me.
Oh my God.
She is screaming to the top of her lungs, and he is there bouncing my vehicle from the back, butting us from on the highway to try to run me off the road. And the child is there screaming, and I'm just trying to navigate the vehicle because in my mind, reach the police station. Just reach the police station. Reach the police station. And I'm just there driving, giving us all kind of bad ride. He did nicking the van from the back. And my hand trembling, and I said, Lord, I want to stay on the road, but I'm frightened. So I'm driving, and he's there giving us all kind of fancy drive, trying to corner the vehicle. And then he pull up on the side of me at one point in time, and he tell me, wine on the glass. Why not stopping? Because I said, I not stopping, I go in the station, so I kept driving. And there was one point in the dual carriageway, before you could turn off to go to Malabar police station. I was supposed to be on the left-hand side to turn off by the Malabar police station, but because of how he was nicking us from the back, I end up on the extreme right-hand side, which is not to turn up, but to turn down. So, only because of how he was cornering us, that's how I end up there. And the traffic light turned red. So he stopped, but how he stopped, he kind of cut a corner my vehicle, so I couldn't drive forward. And there was somebody right behind me, so now I can't move. He jumped out his vehicle and he came and he started to pound on my glass so hard and demanding that I open the door. And he said, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. And the child sat down there screaming. And I believe the guy who was behind me realized something is happening, and he just rolled back. And with the he rolled back, I was able to reverse a little bit. And here where I had to end up passing, not where there's a medium, but it's short. I had to drive up on that to cross. And the dual carriageway has traffic going up, traffic going down. I end up on the side where traffic coming down. So I'm going up.
In the downside?
Yeah, in the downside. And I am trying to escape him. I had to cut across the traffic light. Why it was that intersection, that traffic light was, I had to cut across that break. I broke the light and drive straight across to head up to go to the Malabar station. When that happened, he drove off from where he was, and so he continued to pin me. He continued to follow and bounce my vehicle until, with the fright, I think I misinterpret the road for the police station, and I end up driving into the street before the actual street where the police station was. When I turned in the road, I was like, oh my God, where is the police station? I realized I was in the wrong road, and he's there bumpering me.
All this time, people around you,
Yes.
all, nobody intervening, nobody...
No, they did. Because I didn't know there were some people, they managed to pick up on something happening since on the highway, and they started to follow.
Okay.
So when he finally pinned me in that street, again, somebody behind me again, and he caught a corner me. And this time he come out, and he demanded I open the door because he wanted to hit me. And I locked the van, and him and my daughter screaming, Mommy, make sure your door locked, And I said, Chelsea, lock. It is locked. And she, yeah, I was like, oh gosh. In my mind, all I'm thinking is, I have to get out of this situation. How am I getting out of it? When he realized he wasn't getting through for me to open the door, and of course my glass up. No, the person behind me, again, I think God had it in such a way, they realized I backed into that situation, they rolled back. Now I'm reversing to come out. He realized that I'm reversing to come out. He jumped in his vehicle, drove forward, back to reverse, and mashed up my vehicle from the front. Well,
Yeah, he
So
reversed into
he
you.
reversed into me, and he mashed up the entire front of the vehicle. So now I'm seeing smoke, thing pitching up in the air, the child screaming, and I now feeling like I can't move because I don't know if I was in shock or what was going on. I wasn't, I mean, the front of the vehicle was damaged, but I wasn't injured by it, but I couldn't move. I couldn't move. I was so much in shock. And the child now is opening her door to drag me out. She said, Mommy, the van go and blow up, the van go and blow up. Come on, let us come out. Let us come out. But I didn't even want to come out because he out there. At that point in time, so I don't know what mechanically would have happened, and the glass went down, not fully halfway, but almost. And he was able to push his hand through the glass and hit me in my jaw. At that point in time, my daughter kept saying, Mommy, let us come out. But I studying here, if I only come out there, he will raft me. So in my mind, I say, I still in the vehicle, you know. Thankfully, the neighborhood, the people in the neighborhood saw what went on. And from the time he hit me, that blow in my face, well, from the time he hit the vehicle, they came out. And they realized this was some kind of violence, something, because it wasn't an accident, a real accident. And he hit me in my face. They realized there's some other thing going on. They ran him down. And they pelt him with, I think somebody pelt a wrench behind him. He jumped in his vehicle and he drove off and left us there. And I ended up having to leave the vehicle there. I went into the Malabar station and made a report. After that, I was like, this can't happen. This cannot go on, right? But funny enough, even though I know it couldn't go on, I still didn't have the courage to do what I needed to do to stop it. So I know what I have to do, but I couldn't do it. And I think from that first scenario, or that first brutal scenario, I was referred to the gender-based violence. I didn't even know they existed in the police service. But I was referred to them, and they were able to guide me according. And with them, I found a safe space to relate what was happening. And I was even able to get the support in terms of therapy, right? I don't know if I could call Miss Bacchus, worked closely with me since then. And she was able to let me know of certain hotlines that I could use and certain steps that I could make. And even though she was telling me of the steps that I could make, I still couldn't do it, So again, I'm there knowing what I could do, but I didn't have the courage to do it. And
because I was just about to ask you, you had to go back home eventually, right? You and your daughter.
Yes.
So how did that go when you...
Right. So through therapy with Ms. Bacchus, I was telling her how afraid I was of this person and what I wanted to do. And I realized that I needed to take out a protection order, right? Which I was able to do it because I got the encouragement, and she actually helped me along that journey to actually get in the protection order, right? And when I got it, I felt relieved, not that the situation was fully resolved, but relieved that I finally took the step towards the right direction. And with that, I was like, okay, I'm feeling okay with this. I have this paper in my hand that, should serve as some protection from him doing me what he wanted to do and being abusive and stuff like that. Now, during the time when this part of it went on, I stayed by my mother for like about 3 months. And then he came and he begged my children. He said, look, I would like you all to come back home. I am seeking therapy, and if all you come back home, I will done all this stupidness, and I'm going to church now, and I'll be good. And if your mother come back home, I am going to sleep in front because she's not comfortable. I'm going to sleep in the living room, and she could sleep in the bedroom. So he came to that conclusion, and I said, okay, because where I was staying, I didn't plan to stay there for long, right? So I was like, okay. He looked as though he was shaken up about this scenario, and he looked as though he really sorry. So I was like, okay, probably I could give it a chance, not to rekindle with him, but to go back home with what he was letting me know, well, we safe, and he wouldn't do it again.
Oh, you felt
it was
about
a
being
bad
in the same house with this person who ran you down on the highway.
That's the thing. That's the thing. So,
oh my God.
When we now came back home, he started to portray this nice guy thing. No, I did make it very clear to him that in terms of our relationship, I cannot see myself with him intimately, or as a wife. So I said, I really want to be there for my children though, because they are still very dependent on us. And I told him, I said, I would like for us to coexist and co-parent for these children because they still need us, right? And we had that understanding, and he was okay with that. Up until 1 week passed, 2 weeks passed, 3 weeks passed, and a month, he finally, no, the arrangement that we made before, he didn't keep his word on it. He slept in the bedroom hoping that I get tired and come and join him there. So I ended up being the one sleeping out in the living room. And he thought I would have gotten fed up by a month or 2 months and come back in the bedroom. And then he come and ask me, so you ain't fed up lying down on the ground, so why you can't just come and lie down on the bed? And I wasn't having that, because I had already put on my foot where that was concerned, and I told him, I am not comfortable. I don't want him touch me. I didn't want him touch me. So with that, he got really angry because he realized now my normal self or my old self would have rolled over. A week would pass, I would be vexed, I will guff up a little bit, and we will have a little tension for a little short time, and then we roll over and things going back to normal. So I'm guessing he thought that this time period I would have done the same thing, and eventually we will come back to some sort of normalcy. But that didn't happen this time. So he continued, when he realized it wasn't happening, he continued to threaten me, continued to stalk me, popping up in various places, pulling cutlass for me, running me down with the cutlass and the children. Now my son had to be in the middle of us, stopping him from, he's just swinging the cutlass crazy, and my son is there in the middle, holding back his hand. And it reached a point my daughter even jumping, and she's when he running me down, she's trying to stop him, and then he will turn and grab her and hit her. You understand? There was one time he got a taser gun. I don't know where he got it from. He was trying to tase me, and when I ran inside and I closed the door, my children remained outside, and they were trying to take it from him. And because they tried to take it from him, he turned around and started to chase them. And when my daughter was running, she fell down on the ground, and he tased her 3 times on her leg, burning the child's foot. You understand? And then when I said, well, why you would burn the child? He would be like, well, my finger touched it by mistake. I said, but you was running on the child. He said, I never do that. Every time, he never did it. He never did it. So my daughter realized that he had this trend of saying that he didn't do it. She started to tape him.
Record him.
Yes, she started to record him. And then he realized she was doing that. And there was a day that she was in her bedroom and she recorded some stuff. He came over her and he made it his business that she erased all of it.
Shelly Ann, stick up in there, please. I just want to go back to the incident on the highway, right? You eventually went to the station, yes. Wasn't that, and maybe Miss Corbie or Miss Bacchus could come in here, that incident that took place on the highway, is that not enough for him to be arrested?
Well,
That action?
Yes, it was. But there was one thing, the vehicle I was driving was in his name. So he basically mashed up his own vehicle.
So what?
But the act itself,
yes.
I will tell you what went on with that.
Tell me, please. Help me understand.
Again, me, within myself, didn't want to go the extra mile because I was afraid of what he will do after the fact. So I'm thinking if I go and press charges, all this time things are happening, him running me down with cutlass and stuff.
Yes.
I am not pressing charges because I believe that it will infuriate him and make the situation worse.
Understood. But in the absence of the victim pressing charges, is there not an obligation for the police to apprehend a person who is clearly violent towards another person, regardless of the relationship? Help me to understand why that was not the course.
Because a citizen not supposed to have a taser in their possession in the first place, right?
So we have a few things happening here. But certainly the police officers, they are required to respond to each report of domestic violence.
Yes.
And they can respond to it, the situation in particular. And then it will depend upon the investigation. So some of the elements of the investigation may benefit from a statement from the survivor or the victim in this case.
Right.
So I'm not too sure if that may have been done. But based on what other information is available to the police officer in the investigation, maybe they would have seen some of it happened, or bystanders may have given information as well. Based on the different elements, they can act in those instances, and some layout charges based on the investigation can be proffered. So I imagine it's those facts that we may not be aware of in terms of, did a witness give a statement? Did they see one of those items happening? Did they have knowledge of the taser as well?
Right.
But in no way making any excuses, but it sounds like a situation where he can certainly, a few charges indeed sounds like would be happening in that instance.
Yes.
Definitely a few charges indeed, but it depends upon the investigation.
I didn't press. I didn't push because I kept getting, Ma'am, what do you want to do? Because it is a sensitive situation. I believe that is where it came from. Not that the police didn't do what they were supposed to do. They kept giving me advice and telling me what can be done, but still left it to me to go that further distance and, towards them apprehending him. And I did not pursue it because I'm scared. I'm thinking he's going to get worse. He kept threatening to kill me. He said, "Girl, I'm going to murder you. I'm going to murder you." So I kept hearing that in my head, and I'm thinking, somewhere along this line, this man will actually do what he's saying, So it is a sensitive situation, and I am happy somewhat that they still left it to me, because I think when I finally decided to do so, I felt the time was right. Because I needed to feel that I could handle what coming after. Because I have children there, I am there, and even though all the resources are there, but...
And that's an important point. I think, she has to leave when she's ready.
In addition to that, she mentioned she has children there now. Children can make a report in the absence of the parent. Right now, with the current legislation, they can make a report to engage and give relative statements also to activate police action as well.
Right. Gotcha.
No, folks. Normally I would do this, but I'm so stuck listening to you, Shelly Ann, and processing everything. I always remind people to listen to Independency. How Ms. Corbie, how the gender-based violence victim and witness support unit and the Office of the Prime Minister, Gender and Child Affairs, how do you all work together dealing with these issues?
Yeah, I think first of all, guys, I just want to say is immense layers of trauma that Shelly Ann is outlining for us.
Yes.
And I could imagine some of the listeners are not just hearing, but somewhat feeling in terms of what they are hearing, right?
Yes.
So it's various. So Natasha would have asked just now, how could you go back? It's the trauma, the layers of the trauma, and working out, what if. And there may be some part in her mind that would believe, okay, maybe he's really ready to change this time.
Oh,
yeah.
Seriously,
No,
because people asking these questions
I ask myself
too.
the same thing,
Yeah,
no, seriously.
And that's why for us at the Victim and Witness Support Unit, the data normally shows up at least 7 times that a victim may say, you know what, this is it, I'm gone, and they return. And you know what, this is it, I'm gone, and they return.
Yes.
So when they come into us at the Victim and Witness Support Unit, we try to treat it as a first time.
And this is
a
why,
full slate.
and this is why some people say, me getting husband and wife business now, because she going right back by him.
So we are saying
Yes.
get involved.
Yes.
We are saying affirmatively
Because it could save
get
a life.
involved. As I mentioned before, domestic violence is everybody's business, and it's not just a cliche. The impact we are seeing on our children is quadrupling, is so insurmountable. Not just they repeating domestic violence, but getting involved in criminal activity and that push and pull because of the trauma. But before I go to that, let me just highlight in terms of our partnerships and ongoing work with the Office of the Prime Minister, Gender and Child Affairs, and I am so grateful for the support and the spirit of Minister Ayanna Webster Roy in the work that they do there. One of our key programs that we do is called Teen Survivors of Sexual Assault, where we would do a week-long program with teen girls that would have experienced sexual assault. And for the cycle of it this year, they were supported us in terms of funding that program. One of the key facilities of that program is Ms. Bacchus, and where we see our girls that are impacted, oftentimes by family members, by sexual assault. And we have had children in that program coming for 5 days, even pregnant, from their experience of sexual assault. And another component of that program involves the parents of the children coming. Another area that the Office of Gender and Child Affairs, we work with them. We know they have this STEP program. And Shelly Ann spoke to the financial abuse that her mother would have experienced. And also the anxiety in her as to how she is going to afford to care for her children if she was to leave. And the perpetrator would have used that as well. So that STEP program provides that level of grant for persons to probably pursue a small business, so as to get them that type of economic empowerment. Because that has been a key area of paralysis for survivors to leave. How am I going to survive? We have victims that would say, I could take the licks until you all reach 18 and you get somewhere to go. I will manage up with the licks. Once you all are okay and you have a place, a roof over your head, food to eat, he is not that bad. Right? And in no way we blame victims and say, you know what, you're crazy for thinking that, because there are a number of dynamics. And Garth, as we know, counter trafficking also supports this program. There's another dimension in terms of how migrants navigate to GBV.
Yes.
Right? So there are various layers that we're seeing. And I don't know if Ms. Bacchus wants to add anything at this point.
Yes, please, Ms. Bacchus.
Yes, definitely. As it relates to the layers, it is important that we acknowledge that this is a cycle that persons would be going through in terms of, one, the triggering stage where the client would have shared, she felt as though she was walking on eggshells. Right? And there's the acute explosion, and followed by that, the honeymoon phase. So this can be very confusing for the victim, because they're thinking, okay, he's going to change. This is not who he is, or he would revert to what they met initially in the relationship. And that brings the role of fear. And fear is the strongest tool that the abuser would use to control the victim, because in everything this client would have shared, she always referred to that or use that as a mental reference, that I'm afraid of this behavior. And the survivor's fear to her abuser's threats, that might include violent actions, delayed, that would have delayed her decision to seek that legal steps. And as the Victim of and Witness Support Unit, we are acknowledging that, and as Mrs. Corbie said, see them as a blank slate. This is the first time, so that they know that they are supported, and share the resources in terms of the importance of the legal protective measures as it relates to protection order and even exclusion orders, as it relates to highlighting the victim's safety and holding the abusers accountable for their actions.
You know, there's one thing I want to mention, God, just real quick. There's a story at the start of the relationship that serves as the initial glue for the two parties, right? And somewhere along the line, the glue gets contaminated or the true person surfaces, right? But the individuals, especially the survivor, when there are those glimmers of apology and the honeymoon stage that Ms. Bacchus so clearly articulated with this cycle, the mind then reverts the story. Maybe it will go back to there. The security that I found first, or this is the person I knew from the start, or this is the reason why I connected to you and I felt like I want to be with you. And we may say that is frivolous or trivial, but there's a story that connects the two persons initially, and without the help, the trauma-informed support, and the clarity to connect those dots, the individual may very well say, you know what, he has apologized, we plan to work on it, he really said he was sorry, and maybe it was me. Maybe I really upset him, and I know that these are the things that upset him, and I tend to do this, so I may have some part to play too. We could work on it, and for the children's sake. And look how far we've come, you know, and those are some of the factors that persons may seek to justify in their minds to continue taking the abuse for a time.
You know, what you said, it reminded me of substance abuse as well. You know, the first time it is ingested, it tastes so good. But then after a while, it spirals into, it's starting to control me and doing me what it wants. And I feel I could conquer it. And you know, I'll try rehab and then maybe let me try again and see if, you know, I would. It sounds the same.
Right.
You know, and it happens with alcohol, gambling, every single thing. So, Shelly Ann, but you finally decided enough was enough.
Yeah. But I'm still saying today, I'm thankful for gender-based providing the therapy, because it's only then I was able to sit down and understand the behavior pattern and the cycle that they are speaking about. And I was in living motion of that cycle, and every time that cycle would have come around, it got worse, the abuse got worse. So it really and truly, me saying nothing did not make my situation better. Me not doing anything did not make the situation better.
How many times it took you before you finally decided? Because he left first and he came back and he left after the second time.
No, I left and I came back home. But when I went back home and he didn't have his way, it got worse.
Right.
It really got worse. And even though I had a protection order, he kept telling me, what you gonna do? You can't do me nothing with that protection order. What you gonna do? Fly it in front of my face and stop me? I don't afraid that. And all that protection order has is my basic rights on it. Him not being able to hit me, him not being able to curse me, him not being able to interfere with my belongings. Simple things. It had nothing extra on that, or nothing out of the way on that protection order, other than my basic human rights. And he was angry that I had that paper. Angry. Really, really angry.
But what is your situation now? Are you safe? Are your children safe?
Well, that brings me to the ending part of, it's not so much the end, but, you know, what I had to end up doing was that after a few consecutive situations where he cutlass passing, running, me and my children running up the highway, my son in his jockey shorts, 1:30 in the morning from this man running me down with cutlass, hiding in the drain on the side of the highway, calling police to come and pick us up. I was like, why I have these children going through this? It is frustrating. These children, I seen them trembling. We hiding in the bush from this man I supposed to be living in this house with. And I'm saying, somewhere along the line, I'm blaming myself again, because I said, I am not doing what I'm supposed to do. I am not doing what I am supposed to do. I have to make steps to make this better. This cannot go on like this. And there was one last situation that happened. He came in the house, and that was after that. I'm talking about just 3 months ago. 3 months ago, I'm there sitting, and he comes home and attacks me because this by then almost the whole year is gone, right? I haven't returned to his bedroom. He's not, according to what they will say, I'm not fulfilling my wifely duties. Because, of course, I cannot lie down with you. I don't want you to touch me. So that's out of the picture. So he's frustrated. He's cursing me out and telling me it's a whole effing year. You still lie down in front here. I lie down in the bedroom. And he's now accusing me of having an affair. And adamant that I said, I admit to what he's accusing me of. And because I going down hell-bent, what happened? What it is you talking about? And he's calling up things and accusing me. He's saying, you're going into the hotel. I was like, what? So I'm there defending myself on something that I didn't do. And I had to pinch myself after a while. I was like, why am I validating these accusations? Why am I validating myself with these accusations? So I just like, you know what? Leave him. I went outside and I'm like, he will cool down. Children came outside, my daughter came outside, and we were there until we tell ourselves, well, he cooled down because he was inside cursing to the top of his lungs. When we heard the place got quiet, I went back inside. It's because he terrorizing my son inside, having him pull up all kind of stuff on his email address and saying, this is the hotel you went to, and that is where you went, and this is where you went, and have my son frustrated behind a computer trying to find out what's the name of whatever particular hotel he accusing me of and stuff like that. So I'm walking inside and he said, come and see, this is the hotel you went by. I went and I was like, but I was never there. What are you speaking about? He got enraged because in his mind, I have to say, yes, I was there. And I really and truly, I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. And with that, my son got up because my son realized that he was going over the edge. And when my son got up, he stood in between of us. So he's there cursing and I'm standing up there. And I said, listen, you pull up your email address and saying that you looking at my location history from your email. So what are you speaking about? That's your location history, that's not mine. Well, he got mad with that. That was it. So he grabbed from my throat. So he scrambled my throat with my son's barely standing between us, but he managed to grab my throat. And with that, I just remember screaming to the top of my lungs with rage. And I pushed on him. And I pushed him into the wall. And I was screaming, leave me alone. And he started to, so when I pushed him on the wall, he was just wiggling there. And in my mind, I holding down his hand because I don't want him to hit me. So I'm just there trying to squeeze him down. And he was fighting back with me. So in my mind, I don't want him to lash me, you know. But with that, somewhere along the line, I end up to the back of him, holding him to trying to restrain his arms. And because my hand was close to his face, he bent down and he bit my entire thumb. And he started to chew away at it as if it was a piece of meat, sawing away at my finger. And the pain that I got from that, it felt as though I was feeling it all in my foot. I was screaming. And the only thing I could have thought about at that present moment was to bite him back. So whilst he was biting me, I started to bite him to the back of his shoulder. And when he started to feel that pain is only when he let go of my finger. And with that, he ran off. And when he ran off, my son running behind him because they know of all the other incidents, he would have hit cutlass all over the house. So they know where he running to go. And it's just so said, so done. He was running to go in his bedroom. He has cutlass hidden all below the mattress, side of the bed, all on top of the cupboard, weapons everywhere so that he have it at close reach. And he was heading straight to the bedroom door. And my son managed to corner him there. Same time, my daughter was in the road talking to her friend. And she heard when I screamed out. And she ran inside. And she realized my son was getting some problems to try to corner him there. She joined up with him and they pinned him and he was there pelting lash behind him. And I got a chance now to run out the house. But my children had to stand up for me. So that is where I said, okay, no more of this. No more of this. I remember in the earlies they told me through therapy, they told me that if I'm not safe in the home and I believe he's a threat to the children, that I have the option of getting an exclusion order to have him removed. I didn't want to reach to that. I was hoping that we could have coexisted in that house and things could have been calm enough where we could see about the children. But that wasn't the case. Things just got worse. So I called the victims hotline and I was able to make an appointment to see the judge for them to for us to go to court. Well, not for us. I went to court, and they eventually, what they did, they didn't do an exclusion order, but what they did, they varied the protection order and added the fact that he cannot be on the premises with me, and they put the children's name on it as well. So to make sure that he doesn't attack the children and they don't suffer abuse from him after the fact. They also stated in the protection order, or the varied protection order, that he is not to be on the premises, and if he does have to come on the premises, he has to be there with a police presence. And I was able to be granted that through the court. And I felt bad doing it somewhat.
Felt bad.
But I was relieved.
Yeah.
I was relieved, and they finally came and they served it to him. And what made me cry is that my son was standing up big and brave throughout the whole entire situation, and I was only asking him, how you feeling about this thing? He said, Mommy, I good, I don't care. I good, I don't care. And to know when he was finally removed from the home, my son came and he said, Mommy, I'm feeling so good. You should have done that a long time. And then my daughter, she's like, oh God, I could finally sleep. Because we couldn't sleep in the night. We are sleeping now. I eventually moved out from the living room and I started to sleep in her bedroom. And when he realized I'm sleeping in her bedroom, he interfered with the lock. So we couldn't lock the door anymore. We could have only pushed the door in. So I started to sleep and put a mattress on the floor, jamming the door so that he wasn't able to come in the room unannounced, you know. I used to have to sleep with my phone in my pillowcase with my car keys because he was tampering with my vehicles while we were sleeping. So these are the things we were going through, and we were sleeping under hypervigilance. My daughter started to sleep with weapons under her pillow. So if in case he launched again, she said, Mommy, I will hit him, you know. So I had to think ahead and realize that this thing not just affecting me, the children, we breeding monsters. Because she is now prepped and waiting for him to launch, and she would have damaged him.
Stick a pin right there. There are a number of homes in our country going through this, and we see it in our schools.
Yes.
And we see the girls and the boys acting out same way.
Yes.
Hear what you just said, very important statement. You're going monsters because they already learning to protect themselves from violence and planning in ways to be violent if they have to.
Yes.
Shelly, we need your help. Miss Corbie, Miss Bacchus, we need your help. We need your help to continue to somebody actually be doing our part with it, because look at the time. And I know you just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
You know, Miss Corbie, before we go, now this man, and I picked up in somewhere there, it hurts you to do what you're doing because you still had some love for him.
Yeah, I didn't want to go to that extreme, but
exactly.
I couldn't allow it anymore.
You know, is this man now is being left to go and have a relationship with somebody else. There should be an intervention on his part too to save him from putting another family through this.
So this is where education is important. And I was going through narcissistic abuse. And with narcissists, they don't they don't acknowledge that they are the victim. They don't admit that they are the problem.
Yeah.
For you to get help, you have to admit to some extent that you are, you are the problem, and hold it. Some type of accountability has to be there, and he doesn't hold that right now. Word on the streets is that I was abusive to him. So the flip was the script was flipped.
Yes.
And
of course.
I because I know now it's textbook behavior, and the I know they are what they call flying monkeys. He's going to have supporters, as well as what they call it?
Enablers.
Smear campaign. It's a smear campaign. So
absolutely.
I have to hear from all over. I'm this, I'm that, I'm a bad mother, I'm a bad wife. I already made up my mind. I'm going to get that. So it's if I'm hearing it now, it's not supposed to affect me in any way. I know I have a duty. My God-given duty is to ensure that my children is good, and I am good. And at this point, that's my top priority, their mental health. So now I was able to refer through Miss Bacchus and my children are now taking therapy with gender-based.
Right.
Yes.
Victim and witness, yes.
Right? So with that, because I'm seeing trouble ahead if we don't nip it now.
For your children?
Yes, for my children.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm an adult. There are things I could handle, but they need that
therapy.
need the guidance.
Absolutely traumatized.
Right?
Look, before we go, Ms. Corbie, this is part one. Let me just say, we have to continue this conversation because there are hundreds of Shelly Anns out there and families. Shelly Ann, welcome to the family. And we would like to continue this discussion going forward. Ms. Corbie, any final closing remarks? Mr. Enoch couldn't come in here just now for the 12 o'clock news. So, let's have some closing remarks quickly.
So I want to just thank Shelly Ann for trusting us at the Victim and Witness Support Unit, and for that referral by the police officers at Malabar to the Victim and Witness Support Officer, Ms. Bacchus, who would have done significant work on this case and continue to do work on this case. So there's some matters that are ongoing and that we will continue to support you on. And for persons that are listening out there, we want to encourage you. You mightn't be sure at this point in time, but you know that what you're experiencing is not what you deserve. Give us a call, and we could at least give you some guidance. Even if you're unsure about making a police report, give us a call. The TTPS Victim and Witness Support Unit can be reached at 612-1954. 612-1954. If you're unsure, you could drop a message on the TTPS Facebook page. You can email us at vwsu@ttps.gov.tt. You could walk into Maloney Police Station, where Ms. Bacchus is based, or at Rima Police Station, where we have other victim support officers based, and just ask. And help is available, and there is hope, and we'll walk you through the process.
Ms. Bacchus?
Yeah. Breaking free from abuse, it does require immense courage, and support and accountability is essential for healing, and we just want to encourage persons to reach out to the Victim and Witness Support Unit, as we are strategically located within the 10 divisions of the police service. Thank you.
Shelly Ann, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Happy
You're a brave, strong woman. And we want to wish you and your children all the best. At least you're in a better place now.
Yes.
You're safe from the monster. But we have to speak about monsters and how we can help the monsters too, because...
Of course. Even through court, I mentioned that I would like him to get the help for anger management or something. He needs help. And I'm not the one to help him, but he needs help, and I would like if he could get it.
Yes. Trinidad and Tobago, once again, another biography for you to chew on. And you heard Miss Corbie, you heard Miss Bacchus, you heard the numbers, you know what to do. Thank you very much for listening to us, Natasha.
Thank you. I am very moved by Shelly Ann's story, and I we hope that you found some benefit in telling your story on our independency, and we are always here to support you alongside the Victim and Witness Support Unit.
Thank you very much, Shelly. Major news up next, and thanks Tom and Tom for staying with us. Major news up next with Mr. Daly Knock.